It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. I'm Brad, and who's this other guy? What's your name again now?
My name is Shelley Barr.
No, it's not. It's John.
I love the gimmick that you had on 107.1 where you'd be like, I'm Shelley, she's Brad. I always loved that, Brad. That was just a funny little quirk of the show that I loved.
Back and forth. That is John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. I spell it because you need to put that into your browser with the name John in front of it and then put a .com on the end. John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T.com. It'll take you to his website where he has literally sometimes dozens of things every day talking about events you should know, events, news stories, things going on in the news around the state of Missouri. Politically, maybe most of the time, but not necessarily all the time, but interesting stuff. Now, John, before we get into the top three, because I'm a forgetful guy, two things I want to throw out to you that we want to maybe cover, maybe this break, are in B block, okay? Matt Gaetz.
I'm ready, yeah.
Matt Gaetz and Guns and Hoses, okay? You make a note of that and remind me if I don't get to those.
Yeah. Now, are they all together? Or are they two separate? So are you saying that Matt Gaetz likes hoses, and then we'll also talk about guns?
And
are you saying Matt Gaetz is one topic and then guns and hoses?
I think Matt Gaetz likes guns and hoses.
And for B block, will he get a barbershop intro, or are we just forgoing that on a Friday?
Well, John, you make comments to me. I clean the show up, I mean, it's more Brad and John and less radio junk. You know what I'm saying? How's
Your
that?
intros, Brad, the new Westplex Talk intros that are brief are fantastic.
Yeah,
they're just fantastic. They're right to the point, and then we get into the show.
Jump right into it. Okay, what we do is we start off with this guy right here.
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what he does is he does a bunch of things like,
we're on our way to the number one.
and he says things like,
And here they are.
and he says things like,
Now on with the countdown.
and then he does this.
In third place,
We are creeping closer, Brad. I'm proud to report, of eradicating any sense of humor, especially from white men out of higher education. I bet you know where I'm going with this, Brad.
Yeah,
but for
unfortunately,
folks
I
who are
do.
regular listeners to the show, they'll know that over the last couple weeks, been a big controversy down in Springfield. The Missouri State University president, a guy named Richard, don't call me Dick Williams. He goes by Biff Williams.
Biff.
He came to Missouri State from being president of Utah Tech. And one time he teased a buddy of his about a vasectomy. He went to the guy's house the day afterwards. He put two eggplants and a zucchini down and a wacky little note that said, "Hey, this is a gift from you as you recover." And then he put the names of the general counsel, the general counsel's deputy, and also the name of a DEI Title IX queen. And guess what? They were not happy about being framed for the horribly offensive and problematic zucchini and eggplant crime. So there's a big federal lawsuit going on. Brad, 2 weeks ago, you asked me about this. Excuse me. 1 week ago, you asked me about this, and you said, John, they're not going to fire him, are they? And I said, no, Brad. But they are talking about having a vote of no confidence. And yesterday, the faculty senate at Missouri State did indeed have a vote, Brad, and they voted a vote of no confidence. They have no confidence in Biff Williams because of the unveiling of this horrific prank up at Utah Tech. They have no confidence that he can continue in his job. And Brad, today at 11 a.m. Central Time, the MSU Board of Governors will get together in a closed-door meeting, which is generally about firing or hiring decisions, and they are going to be discussing a topic that nobody knows what it is, but we're pretty sure that it's going to be about Biff Williams. So, Brad, we might be closer to eradicating a sense of humor from higher education.
John, is this the ultimate note, much ado about nothing, or what? I'm losing you, dropping on.
Well, I don't know, Brad. I was reading a quote here. There's a woman named Abby Templar Rodriguez, and she's on the faculty senate. It's amazing because she's got a Latinx name, but she's kind of a ginger. And she says that she hears from students that think that it's a little problematic of what happened. And here's her quote. I've had staff members that shared with me that they're looking for faculty to stand up for what's right for our university. Brad, you can't have someone in a position of power who makes a vasectomy joke.
John,
I don't even know why that's a debate today.
John, let me ask you something. you're back in your college days, okay? Your bros at WashU, if this came out, similar situation with the president of WashU came out with this, wouldn't your bros go like, dude, way to go, dude? Wouldn't this be like great locker room talk? Can you believe what our president did? He put the zucchini and a couple eggplants. Get what I'm saying?
I'll tell you, yeah, I agree, yes. First of all, I would have rallied the IFC, the Interfraternity Council, to have some sort of a protest outside the women's building. I think that would be an appropriate place. And then I guarantee you I would have used my entire college Republican president. I don't mean to flex my resume, Brad, but I kind of was president for a while. I would have used our entire budget to go buy zucchinis and eggplants.
Hold it.
And I would have given them to leaders of the faculty senate and said, you probably haven't had meal attention in a while, so you should probably take these home. I mean, and make a stew, Brad.
Make a stew, literally?
Make a stew. Yeah, I don't mean. What else are lonely feminist women gonna use eggplant and zucchini for, Brad? I'm talking about making a stew. They could make something for their cats. Maybe it goes well with dried up eggs.
Do cats?
You know what I'm saying, Brad?
Do cats?
Anyway, we're getting closer to eradicating humor from the Missouri public education system. People like you probably think it's overreacting, but I think it's a big win.
Do cats eat zucchini? I thought they like fish and stuff like that. No?
Well, I think we know why a lot of cat ladies. Well, I don't.
Okay.
I won't even go there.
Okay. Do you really think? Now, first off, I got two questions. First off, you were the president of what again now?
The college Republicans at WashU.
Okay. Was that three of you?
Yeah. No, it was 1.5.
1.5.
Because I was the only one that wanted to identify. And then we had some people that identified. Yeah. It was. You could fit us in a broom closet.
Yeah. Okay. So the second question was, do you really think they're going to bounce him over this?
They might. Yeah, I really think they do.
Oh my God.
I think there's a really good chance to get rid of him.
This has gotten to the point where, my mom and dad were both very well educated. Washington U grads, by the way. I have 2 kids. 2 of my 4 kids are very well educated. I have an attorney. My daughter's an attorney. She got her undergrad at Mizzou and her JD at WashU, ironically. My son has a double major in electrical engineering and computer science. Okay, I have 2 degrees, a bachelor's and a master's degree. I've said it before in this station. I'll say it again. College is a waste unless you're going to get a degree which is going to be required for professional admission. In other words, if you want to be a teacher, an attorney, nowadays a nurse, what would be some of the other qualifications? A CPA, you need...
Yeah, somewhere you have to get an official certification. I'm tracking with you.
Right, you need the sheepskin. You need the sheepskin to those kind of things. Other than that, it's like these goofy people, they don't get the real world. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you mean.
And you would think with the mandate that has been laid down by Trump, where essentially he bowled over all the blue states and made them red, and even to the point where I heard something this morning, they're talking about the fact that if you've heard this story that's going on, if you know the story that's going on in Massachusetts with the mayor and the governor, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. You might need to smarten me up on that later on.
Both the mayor and the governor have essentially said that they are not going to pay any attention to Trump, and they're not going to let anybody.
Yeah, I saw that. And there's several states that have said that, right? They're forming some sort of coalition about this.
Right. And the goofy thing about it was ICE went in there and nailed 3 illegal immigrants who and allegedly committed rapes of kids. And you're going like, okay, why in the world would the governor and the mayor protect these people? I don't understand that.
They're standing on principle, Brad. They're not going to stand up for fascism. I would also point out, too, and the other confounding factor in the Missouri State story is that when Mr. Williams was hired, the board voted to hire him unanimously. It was a unanimous decision, so for whatever that works. But the vote yesterday in the faculty senate was 36-12. And a vote of no confidence. Now, Brad, that is not a close vote. Like, that is a pretty serious vote of people saying, we don't believe in this guy. And, the word that liberals like to use in 2024 is problematic. So what he has done is problematic. And they would point out, Brad, that he should have, in the interview process, said, hey, look, I got caught up in some trouble there. I did a prank. And apparently one of the criticisms is that he didn't reveal this in the interview process. He says because it was an ongoing investigation, he was not allowed to talk about it. That's what he says.
John, Can I make an admission right now?
Please do.
When I was 13 years old, I put a bottle rocket in one of my neighbor's mailbox and it burnt some of their mail.
Well, I guess we know that you're not including that on your St. Louis Public Radio application.
Okay, first off, let me just say this. I say what he did, he should not be thrown out. But I say why he should be thrown out is he uses the nickname of Biff. Wasn't that?
Yeah, I think he was just heavily influenced by Back to the Future.
I was going to say, wasn't that wasn't that the guy that gave Marty McFly all the trouble, the bully?
Yeah, he would give him noogies, or what did he call him?
I can't remember.
He would give something. Hey, speaking of old white men applying at St. Louis Public Radio, let's talk about DEI in story number 2.
Here we go.
Up a notch to number 2.
Missouri Times publisher Scott Faughn writes an occasional column, Brad. He calls it the This Week in Missouri Politics column. And the headline is Update on the DEI Award-Winning Department of Insurance. Brad, in the bigger picture, we're entering a phase now where Governor-elect Mike Kehoe is looking at department heads. He wants to keep some from the Parson administration, but he's looking at others and saying, who can we expunge? Who can we eradicate? Who can we get rid of? And this would probably be the best time to look at the Department of Insurance and what's going on with their award-winning DEI and saying, who is really responsible for this? It might not just be the leader of the DEI crew, which is Clora Lindley Myers, an alleged Georgia resident who I guess has been telecommuting for her job, allegedly. I don't know. I'm not in Jeff City. But there's a number 2 guy there named John Rehagen. And if the name sounds familiar, Brad, and it doesn't, but if it did sound familiar, it was because Eric Greitens made him the interim director back in 2017. So we have someone who is actually a holdover, as I understand it, from the Bob Holden administration, who has remained in state government. So Scott calls out the fact here that in the bigger picture, Scott uses the theme of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he opens with Stone Cold's quote, which is DTA, Brad, don't trust anyone. And Scott's point is, Republicans have been saying for a long time, we're going to get rid of DEI. We don't believe in DEI. University of Missouri said they don't believe in DEI. But we all, Brad, will believe it when we see it. Is Mike Kehoe serious about getting rid of DEI? Are Missouri state senators serious about eradicating the people that brought DEI into the Department of Insurance? We're going to see very early next session, Brad. But Scott's final point, DTAR, don't trust any Republican.
John, you made a mistake there when you said that you gave a whole list of things, the reason they're going to get rid of, or how they're going to get rid of them, they're going to expunge them or something like that. If we're talking about the insurance people, they're not going to be renewed. They're going to get a non-renewal. That's the term you should use.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we're going to say there were too many claims in their account. We're not going to renew.
They're not renewing. Okay, so that's number 2. So we ready for 1?
We are?
Here we go.
The number 1.
If you want to hear a man that you haven't heard get way too passionate lately, if you want to hear him get really pissed off about something, Brad, I want you to go to my website today. I want you to scroll down to our friend, Pete Mundo at KCMO, and hear Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft talk about something that happened on election night. Brad, this is the second time we've talked about it this week, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Which statewide election was razor thin?
That was the gambling proposition.
You're exactly right. And when we talked about it, I mentioned the fact that like 10,000 votes came in late from Christian County in the southwest part of the state. We talked about that this week. And Brad, you were relatively incredulous. You're like, how does that even happen? And me, I know a whole lot about elections. And I said, well, Brad, they had a lot of turnout and they have to wait to count military votes, which I guess is true. But Jay Ashcroft gave us the real scoop on Pete Mundo's show yesterday. According to Jay Ashcroft, when all the votes came in, the folks in Christian County decided that they were going to wait. As the law states, they were going to wait to count military votes. Everybody has to wait until the Friday after the election in case there's military votes that were sent from overseas that they come in. But what Christian County did, they had some votes, regular votes, Brad, that had already been tallied on vote counting machines. Instead of submitting those to the Secretary of State's office, which would have taken a little bit of time and paperwork and processes, according to Jay Ashcroft, they just let 10,000 votes that had been tabulated just sit in the machines, not submit them to the Secretary of State's office so that folks statewide could see what the results were. And instead, they waited until the military votes came in. According to Jay Ashcroft, the number of military votes was in the ballpark of 20 votes. So Christian County, instead of submitting what was on their voting machines so that this whole state could see what happened there, they just sat on them until the military votes came in. And according to Jay, Brad, this is the kicker that's going to get your goat. According to Jay, his theory is the Christian County clerk just wanted to go home that night. They didn't want to hang around and count the ballots. Now, I looked it up, Brad. The head of the Christian County clerk, is a woman named Paula Brumfield. And they have a nice picture on their website. The office appears to be 5 women. Paula Brumfield, her chief deputy is a woman named Erin Flood, who, based on skin tone, is not a direct descendant of former Cardinals outfielder Curt Flood, who challenged baseball's reserve clause. But anyway, Brad, according to Jay Ashcroft, the folks at Christian County, well, they just wanted to go home. They didn't want to wait around and submit stuff. And Jay is pissed. You should listen to the interview, Brad.
Okay, where's Christian County at? Is that where there are a lot of military people? Is that where Whiteman Air Force Base is?
No, it's in the southwest. I think it's a little bit east of Greene County. I don't have the map in front of me, but it's in that southwest part of the state.
So she waited over a week or 2 weeks to turn in the entire vote count then?
Yeah. And Pete asked, I don't know how many days it was, to be fair, but Pete asked, and Ashcroft again was like, we just have a case where people wanted to go home at night and not stay up late. And then Jay pointed out, he said that other county clerks around the state, based on how the votes were coming in, might have been at the office until 5 a.m. And Jay, I think between the lines, I inferred to this, Jay was like, if you're a county clerk, this is the most important day of the year. Like, you got a couple elections a year. Like, just stay and do your work. But instead, we didn't know what the outcome would be. And it was funny because Pete Mundo said, well, how do we fix this going forward? And Jay was like, really, there's 2 things. The first way is, of course, the legislature could pass something that states clearly that votes that are captured need to come in right away or whatever. And then, but Jay goes, really, the other way is just elect better people. Elect people that take this seriously. In other words, elect people that are going to stay there all night until the votes are counted, and not just go home because it's been a long night and they want to go home.
What's interesting, we'll talk about this. I gave you 2 things already, the Matt Gaetz thing and the guns as hoses. Let's put number 3 in there, and we'll talk about this in the B block coming up. And we'll talk about a podcast I listened to the other day from Adam Carolla, and he talks about people inside and outside the octagon, which I thought was a very interesting angle. And if you know, the octagon refers to, guess what it refers to, John? You know.
Yeah, it refers people that are trapped inside of a stop sign, right? It has nothing to do with cage fighting. It has to do with stop signs.
Yes. Well, maybe it does have to do with stop signs because they're always stopped. They never go. Okay. We're going to take a break. We'll be back. And, man, I got a lot of stuff to talk about. Jason Rosenbaum. By the way, it's a Jason Rosenbaum Friday, and he has a real interesting show we're going to talk about. And I'm going to give a compliment, a incredible compliment, to a interview I heard yesterday in the noon hour, but it wasn't, what's her name? Elaine Chow?
Oh, Elaine Chow. Yeah.
It wasn't her that did the interview. That's why I'm going to compliment it.
Oh, snap. I can't wait to hear who it is.
Okay. We have to take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?